This election,
I voted.
this election, I voted.
This election, I voted for.
I voted for Black families. I voted for women. I voted for families at the border. And I voted to create a more equitable world and country for all of us.
Because everyone deserves to have their lives valued. Black Lives Matter. Reproductive rights need to be protected, and we need a president that values their people.
For the promotion and preservation of human rights. I voted to create a country that strives for equity, encourages activism, and values empathy. I voted to create a country that allows everyone to have a seat at the table.
Human rights, specifically the rights of marginalized groups and the rights of my friends and neighbors. I voted for the equity of our government, and I voted for the continuation of democracy as best that we can.
This election, I voted for.
This election, I voted for.
This election, I voted
I voted for those that don't have the opportunity to. I voted for those that don't get to have their voices heard.
Planet. I voted for women and girls everywhere. I voted for justice for Native populations. And most importantly, I voted for democracy and equality in America.
For the protection of my trans brothers and sisters, for Black bodies and other people of color, and for the autonomy over one's body.
because Black Lives Matter, women should be able to make choices for her own body, and because there are thousands of children in cages right now separated from their families.
This election, I voted for.
This election, I'm voting for.
This election, I voted for.
This election,
I'm voting.
My older sister, I voted for my younger brother, and I voted for myself. I voted for individuals to have the right to have a family on their own timeline. I voted for those families to be able to feel safe in their own homes. But most importantly, I voted for compassion, peace, and empathy.
For climate change, for women's rights, and for Black lives.
Every member of the LGBT+ community so that they have equal human rights, especially towards marriage equality. I voted for Black families and communities and a push to end systemic inequalities and injustices, especially in law enforcement. And I voted for women so that we have affordable reproductive health care and so that we always have an equal chance for positions in power.
I voted for women. I voted for LGBTQ+ rights, and I voted for dreamers. This election, I voted for hope.
For the future generations of the United States. For the environment, because climate change is real. For science, because my future career in public health depends on it. And most importantly, for humanity, because Black lives matter, the lives of immigrants matter, and the livelihood of women depends on my vote.
And this election, we voted for change. Have you voted?